Hi, hello, namaskar. This is your host Sarang, and welcome to One Story at a Time. In this podcast, we have a very special guest. His name is Sohail Khan. He is an IIT-IIM alumnus, one of the core founding members of TVF, and he is the chief builder at the Builders Club, which has more than 25,000 builders. Hi, Sohail. Welcome to this podcast.
Hey Sarang, pleasure to be here. This is the first time I'm actually doing a podcast rather than actually interviewing one, so it's a pleasure
Right.
for sure.
How does it feel to be on the other end?
I'm yet to find out. Let's start and we'll
Right.
get to know. Probably you should ask me towards the end of the conversation and I'll probably give you an idea.
Right.
We'll go on.
Super. Right. Let's just rewind your life a few years back. You went into IIT, you went into IIM. Did you always want to go to an IIT? How was your thought process before joining IIT?
Yeah, IIT. So is this in English or is this in Hindi, first of all?
English. Anything is
English,
fine.
okay,
But
cool.
I'm a bit poor.
Primarily in English, okay, that's fine.
Yep.
So yeah, IIT. So primarily, see, when you are joining an undergrad college, you really don't have that much of an exposure, right? So I am talking about my era, which is when I joined IIT. I joined IIT in 2004. This is
Okay.
pre-smartphone era. This is pre the internet age. In fact, I got exposed to the internet after I got into IIT, and I got the first laptop in IIT Kharagpur in my batch.
अच्छा.
Also, उस time उससे पहले desktop चलता था, and there was something known as file share and DC++, which a lot of LAN people within the IIT used to use. So I'm from that era, and when you don't have exposure, you basically are very, very focused on whatever is around you, right? So
Correct.
I hail from a small town called Ranchi. That's where I was born and brought up, and I always was into studies. So the culture in our house was always very study focused. You know, my sister was a topper. I always used to be in top 10, never really focused on becoming number one. I
Okay.
guess around and Ranchi is one of those microcosms, and you'll see a lot of people from Bihar and Jharkhand getting into IIT. And
Correct.
majority of these people would be from either Bokaro or Ranchi, because a lot of people might not know this, but this small town has a very strong, IIT presence. A lot of focus
Culture.
goes on people who get into IITs and all. So
Okay.
I guess it was my class 10th. One of my friends' brothers probably got through some college in IIT, and everybody was gaga over it. And I had never heard of IIT before that. And I didn't even know what IIT was. Okay, so
Okay.
I was like, yeah, ठीक है, IIT, okay, I'm good at cracking examinations. I think I can crack it. Let me try and go into IIT. Then a lot of newspaper clippings and all of these things started coming out, right? So that kind of, it was like this shiny new thing, an
Correct.
aspirational goal, which will make my parents proud, will make me a little bit popular
Hmm.
also probably. I don't think fame
Correct.
was was something which I was really thinking about, and definitely engineering was not in my mind.
Okay. Oh.
When I started preparing, I was good in maths. I was good in science. These things came very naturally to me.
Okay.
I started basically preparing for IIT, and then I saw that these things come very naturally. Was not really for the first attempt which I gave it very casually, and I got a very a lower rank, let's say.
Okay.
At that point
Okay.
of time, IIT just had 4,500 seats. So I
The
got
entire IIT.
the total IIT, all of
Total.
IIT had.
Okay.
And I don't know how many seats it has now. At that point of time,
Okay.
I think from our batch, they started with the concept of screening and mains. Before that, there was only
Okay.
mains. There was only one
Okay.
examination that used to happen. And anything which was tough, you really want to crack it, right? So that's the kind of mentality
Yeah.
that majority of these have. Yeah, if it's a challenging thing, let's try and crack it. Right. So
Correct.
I got a very, very rank around 4,000 something. And then my parents, my father was basically very supportive, and he said, do you want to give it another time? I said, okay. And this time around, I was completely focused. I took a 1 year drop, and then I
Okay.
gave the examination again. This time around, I had around 1,700 something back.
Whoa.
And I got through I had multiple options. In fact, I also cracked all the other examinations along with IIT. In the screening, I had around 900 rank. The
Okay.
screening of IIT, and in
Hmm.
AIEEE, I was all India rank 51 and state rank 2.
Wow.
Right,
Oh.
and there was another exam which used to happen called ISI. This is Statistical
Okay.
Institute, Indian Statistical Institute. They take in around 50 people from across India every
Hmm.
year.
Okay.
This is basically the people who become, the people who get into the RBI, and people who get into statistics,
Hmm.
and basically do all the surveys and all, and they get very high paying jobs outside India. I had no idea about
Okay.
it. I just sat in the examination,
Hmm.
got through that also.
Okay.
And I was really, really good with maths, so I wanted to get into ISI, but my parents were like, "ठीक है, IIT हुआ है तो फिर IIT
Hmm.
जा. Go to IIT. Why do you
Correct.
wanna?" Because nobody had any idea about anything else, right?
Correct.
So that's when I got into IIT. It's purely because
Hmm.
I wanted to crack a challenging examination, and
Okay.
that's basically what I realized is majority of the people that I met there. Everybody was like that only. Everybody was good with maths. Everybody was good with science. Nobody really wanted to be an engineer. Everybody wanted to get into IIT.
IIT.
There's a very big difference. That brand
Correct.
uh, is not just doesn't just make you an engineer. It basically comes with a lot of other advantages as well. And I had no
Correct.
clue about it. But
Hmm.
then I got through. So that's the journey of me getting into IIT. Those 4 years, if you ask me, were kind of I wouldn't say they were. I mean, for me personally, I realized that I should have actually used those 4 years a lot better, because I was naive.
Hmm.
And during undergrad, everybody is naive. 17-year-olds
Correct.
have no idea what to do with their
Correct.
lives. And now looking back, the kind of resources that I had,
Hmm.
dude, had I had a little bit of better guidance at
Correct.
those times, and even if, I mean, there were of course seniors who used to guide us, but who would listen to them, right? Had I listened to somebody,
Exactly.
things would have been different. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
that's the
I
whole
mean,
IT
uh,
journey.
it's so crazy because you had an entirely different approach towards IIT and JEE, because everybody who wants to, I mean, like you wanted to solve and crack those challenges. So that's why you basically got into IIT and you wanted to write JEE. But now the mindset is totally different. Right. So, okay, tell us about what you learned in IIT. And you were talking about the IIT brand, right? So I've asked a lot of people the same question. What sets IITians apart from the other engineering students?
So I can't really say anything about the other colleges for sure,
Hmm.
because I
Hmm.
have not really been there. I've definitely interacted with a lot of them, but as somebody who has not lived their lives, I would not want to comment on how their
Okay.
this things has been. Once you graduate, I
Hmm.
think everybody is on the same boat. You land up
Hmm.
in a job, after IIT. It might, and that's the stepping stone which you get. You probably might get a better package or a better pedestal, or better
Correct.
companies might come for placement for you. But once
Hmm.
you're in, you will find people from other colleges also there,
True.
right?
True. True.
And after that, it's just you.
Correct.
That's all that the brand provides. There is nothing else.
Hmm.
What you really get if you get into
Hmm.
an IIT is probably the network and the friends that you make,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And that is something which a lot of people know how to leverage. I'm still learning, very frankly. I'm still learning. I'm not that great at it.
Right.
But if you have that IIT tag, even if you reach out to a 1973 batch of IIT Kharagpur or even IIT Chennai, they will still
Hmm.
appreciate you as a fellow IITian and would basically, speak with you
Right.
in that regards. Right? So that network is something which,
Hmm.
and again, I'm not saying that if you are from an IIT only then can you build this network. The idea
Hmm.
is wherever you go, you need to learn how to make good friends and lasting
Correct.
relationships. Because
Correct.
at the
Correct.
end of the day, as you grow older, you will realize that
Hmm.
skill set, you're good at something, you're talented at something. Dude, when you get out, you'll find hundreds of and thousands of people who are good at the same thing. But how
Correct.
is it? I mean, then skill set stops becoming the differentiating factor. You know,
Ah.
so you are good, so that's good, that's fine. So what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. How do you basically go ahead in life? It's just by making the right network, just by meeting the right
Correct.
people. And wherever, and how does this help? Whenever you need something, you can basically reach out and figure out. Because
Exactly.
trust me, you don't know anything. I mean, you don't know everything.
Correct.
And you'll always need people and guidance to tell you how to do things in a better fashion.
Correct.
And that's where that helps.
So basically, network is your net worth.
Network is your net worth, yeah.
Network.
In terms of my learning within Kharagpur, so I think one of the reasons why a lot of IITians, and I think this is something which has percolated across different colleges as well now, but I really can't say about them. I basically was more into extra acads when I was in college, and I've realized that people who are better at extra acads eventually have become better managers and are in a better position in different organizations, because this actually allows you to build personality as well. Right? And Kharagpur had a very cutthroat college culture, as in, what do you call it? Hall culture. Different hostels, rivalry, having different rivalries with each
I've
other.
heard about it.
So the thing which you see in Chichore, I think that movie is the kind of cutthroat competition that we used to have in IIT Kharagpur. And that's something which teaches you a lot of things. So we always used to call Kharagpur as a microcosm of the external world. Because once you graduate, you're basically kind of seeing the whole journey, as an internal to somebody who has come out on top, who's, in your fourth year, you're basically kind of seeing how the things work within, there is politics which happens when there are elections. How do you rig those elections? How do you basically, if there is a general secretary cup for which the whole college, all the hostels are fighting for, how do you win those points? How do you basically make sure, which skill set or which team to send for which thing? So basically, I think those kind of things, if you get involved in at the early stages, it teaches you a lot about people management, about how to make sure that things work, how to follow the rule, but also learn how to bend it. So I don't think I don't know whether those things actually happen in different colleges, but I think when I graduated, trust me, I had no idea that after I leave KIT, I have to get into a job also. I always thought this is it. This is my life, And then when I graduated, then life completely started afresh. But then, I had my learnings with me.
So what I'm understanding is the IIT provides you the kind of culture that makes you ready for life. The kind of exposure and experience that it gives you in-house makes you ready for life, right? Okay, so moving on. Okay, so now you passed out from IIT. So did you go to IIM Lucknow right after IIT, or you had some work ex?
I worked for 3.5 years. Before I got into IIM Lucknow. Yeah.
So TVF was before IIM or after IIM?
Post IIM.
Post IIM. So right. So tell us more about what you learned from IIM, because it's, again, as you said, it's more about the network and what you really do in IIM apart from academics that sets you apart from the competition, right? So is there any major takeaways that you've had in life from IIM?
Yeah, I think IIM, so the post-graduation colleges probably are not that cohesive as an undergrad college. Majority of the people are grown up by then. A lot of people already have work experience, so they are kind of focused towards, and it's a big, and again, it's a big club, bro. You basically get in, you make a lot of friends, build a lot of network, and then you get a high-paying job and you leave. In 2 years' time, what else can you do?
Correct.
I basically was involved again. So in Kharagpur also, I was involved in dramatics. I was a lot more into the dramatics and the media space. Arunab Kumar, the founder of TVF, was my senior in IIT Kharagpur, and I was always in touch with him before that as well. I was always into media. So when I was before IIM Lucknow, when I was working, when I was in Bombay, I was also doing theatre and all. So when I came to IIM Lucknow, I basically, became a part of the dramatics club. I kind of headed the dramatics club, and I focused this time around on the studies. I
Okay.
found my niche, and I again, for all of the people who are getting into B schools, one major learning from me is please take finance if you can.
Okay.
Because I think once you graduate from B school, that is the only learnings which you can actually use after you graduate. Marketing is very, very intrinsic, and it comes very naturally. You don't really have to learn anything much. You can completely learn it from experience. Finance is something for which you need to read books. You
Correct.
need to do certifications, and that is
Correct.
my biggest learning actually coming out from IIM Lucknow, is that I think I should have done finance also, because once you start your own company, then all that matters is the P&L. All that matters is the
Correct.
tax. And trust me, as a founder, 80% of your time basically goes with legal and accounting.
Correct.
You'll definitely learn. I'm not saying you'll not
Yeah.
learn, but I think people have an edge if you already, know finance. Then you understand how a P&L works right from day one, rather than having to
Right.
slog your ass to learn about it.
Correct. So, why was that particular shift from technology to management? Why did you feel you wanted to get into an IIM?
Yeah, this also has a very weird story. I never really wanted to get into an IIM. Okay, but it kind of happened.
You never wanted to get into an IIT also.
Yeah, I mean, no, I wanted to get into an IIT. I wanted to crack that examination. I didn't know that I had to, what it was like. So
Yeah.
in IIM, so basically when I graduated from IIT, I was very focused that I want to do something in the media, in the media space. So I tried to go and work for something known as Raj Comics at that point of time as a writer. I wrote 2 scripts of Super Commando Dhruv also.
Oh.
Okay, which is not released on my name, but yeah, I spent 6 months with Raj Comics. After that, I came and I joined my job, which I'd got from placements from IIT Kharagpur, which is in Joslan LaSalle. I basically, when I came to Bombay, I started writing scripts. I basically started doing a lot of theater. One of my friends was in IIM Calcutta, who was my batchmate from IIT Kharagpur.
Okay.
He basically came. He saw what I was doing, and then he said, "Dude, you should write CAT." I was like, "Dude, I don't want to do an MBA. Why should I do an MBA? I know what I want to do. I want to get into media space." He's like,
Right.
"Dude, if you have a BTech degree, if you have a MBA, it always gives you an edge. There's no harm in doing it, right? Just
Correct.
give the examination." I said, "Dude, I'm not prepared for it, right?" And he's like, these are memorable words, right? So he told me, "Cat murgi pakadne jaisa hai." Right? So cat is like catching a hen,
Chicken.
catching a chicken. You don't know whether you can get hold of it or not. All you have to do is just try. If it comes to your hand, it comes to your hand. You never know. And
Correct.
this was very true, actually. So I basically, I had appeared for CAT before. I had appeared for my CAT when I was in my 4th year in IIT Kharagpur. Again, just because everybody else was giving it, I got a 99 percentile, but I had no calls at that point of time. And this is also when I think 99 percentile used to be the cutoff of IIMs.
Yeah.
I don't know now what the situation is. This is a decade back now. So this time around, again, I sat for the examination now because I knew how to study. And there are a lot of things. So cracking competitive examinations has nothing to do with talent. It has to do with 2 things. One, peaking at the right time. And number 2, knowing what your strengths are and your weaknesses are. So in an examination, especially in an examination like CAT, you're not expected to complete the whole paper. You're expected to score the highest marks. There are 2 different things, right? So basically, if you know what you're good at, and if you know what your weaknesses are, you can basically, in those 90 minutes, or I don't know how much time it is now, I guess 180 minutes or something, you basically focus on the things which you know, and then you start, doing the other things.
Strategy.
And so that's something which you have to understand, that 1/3 is usually the qualifying marks, bro. In every IIT, both in IIT and IIM, if you get 33 out of 100, you're in. People are not able to get 33.
33.
So I understood that. And I prepared for, I guess, 2 weeks, right, before the CAT. Because
That's all.
Because again, I said it's aptitude, right? So
Yeah.
what do you need to do? There is no tough chemistry. I mean, you don't have to learn mug up formulas and
Mm.
all, right? It's
Yeah.
basic aptitude. So there are three
Right.
things, like there is LR, DRE, and QA, right? What do you need to do? Majority of the questions have similar processes, as in they are similar questions, right? So in DI
Okay.
also there are certain types of questions which will come with different numbers and all. The digits will change, the
Mm.
numbers will change, but the process remains the same, right?
Process.
So what I
Mm.
did was I basically took IMS and probably time, and I basically in those 2 weeks every day I used to solve 3 question papers every day, morning,
Okay.
evening, night, morning,
Mm.
evening, night, morning, evening, night. And in my solution, I used to focus more on the analysis bit. And in the
Mm.
analysis, I used to go through where did I go wrong? Because right though I already know
Okay.
what I've done right. Where am I going wrong? And what am I going wrong with? I used to make a separate list of it, and then I realized this is the pattern of questions which I'm not able to solve. So how is
Mm.
it usually solved? Let's figure that bit out. I did that. And again, my strategies was very simple, peaking at the right time. Right? In
Mm.
CAT, a lot of people are really good, but they peak at the wrong time. So they peak 2 months before the examination. After that, they're completely
Yeah.
burnt out on the day of the examination. They get
Mm.
panic attacks. Right?
Correct.
So I didn't go through that. I didn't care about what marks I was getting. I was preparing all
Mm.
alone for 2 weeks. I just solved question papers. So in 14 days, I was able to solve around 50 questions. And I was at the peak at that point in time when I got into the
Mm.
examination. And I got 99.98 percentile. So I was ranked 13
Oh,
all across India. So
wow.
yeah. So that happened. And again, I mean, for all the competitive examinations I've done before that, so I've given a
Mm.
few others as well, essay, time pass.
Mm.
This is the strategy. Competitive examinations
Mm.
are like that. Life is not like that. Life is not a sprint.
Correct.
Life is a marathon. That's a completely different thing.
Correct.
But yeah, so this is again when I
Mm.
got through,
Mm.
I had given another examination which was for MICA.
Okay.
MICA had a separate examination at that point of time. I think this was called MCAT or something. I don't even remember the name. And I got through that. I wanted to go through MICA because that is a media focused college. But of
Mm.
course, if you got into an IIM, then
Yeah. Of course.
you really can't do much.
Uh,
So then I got through, and weirdly, I realized that once I got in, that media companies don't come for placements in IIMs.
correct. Hmm.
That's because I was very bad at doing these kind of researches before
Hmm.
that. I was completely driven by gut.
Okay.
So when I got in, I realized that वहाँ पे तो कोई company नहीं है. There's no company which comes
Hmm.
for media. What do
Media.
I do? I said, "ठीक है, let me just study here this time around. We'll figure it out. What
Hmm.
happens after that." So I think there was one company which came in which I got selected for interview but
Okay.
didn't get through. It was Star Plus. That's the
Hmm.
only
Oh.
company which came in.
Hmm.
But I think those 2 years were really great for me because that is where I made a lot of my friends who are now my really good
Hmm.
friends. And I studied this time. So I enjoyed my life. I did my dramatics. I studied and
Ah.
scored decent enough grades. This time not a chaggi. This time a satti.
Hmm.
And then I basically
Right.
graduated. Yeah.
So basically, one takeaway from this would be like the key to crack examinations, competitive examinations, is to peak at the right moment and strategize the entire process.
Yeah. That is all there is to it. It has nothing to do with your intellect.
Talent.
It has nothing to do with your intellect. It's those 3 years. That's it.
Right.
What you do before that, after that doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. All right. Okay. So you were one of the founding members of TVF, which is a huge thing now. So tell us more about that journey, how you got into it, what you did, and what you learned from it.
So again, I'm not one of the founding members. I will say I was one of the core team members. Arunab Kumar is the founder. He will always remain the founder. Okay. Everybody else was helping him build TVF, and that is all there is to it. So as I said, my quest for media basically took me to TVF. I was chasing that thing for a very long time, trying to get into media, and my family had given up. They were like, "Kya chi? What do you want to do, dude?" They say you've got a job. So once I graduated, I got a job. And within 10 months, I completely got fed up of it. Then I
Okay.
tried to do what every guy with the first job does. He would try to go for a job change. I went for a job change. This time around. So again, when you go for a job change, what do you look for? You look for a better designation, you look for a better pay. That's the
Correct.
usual way, right? So I got that, and I realized even after I got it, and I was a core team member in a health tech firm at that point of time. There also I was one of the core team members. The second job that I got.
Okay.
But I realized I was not happy, because this whole wo kehte na, if you have that itch, that royal itch, you really have to scratch that itch. So I really
Correct.
wanted to do it because I realized that, dude, if I jump from here to another job, what will I get? I mean,
Same
it's the
story.
same thing, right? It's the same
Right.
thing. So, I don't want to play that game. If I want to get into media, now is the time. So I
Right.
started exploring, and I basically reached out. So Arunab was, at that point in time, TVF was slowly growing. I remember 2011 was when 2013 was when I graduated. 2014 is when they released this tech conversations with my dad and the making of the 2 series which they did. And I basically reached out to. I had been in touch with Arunab for a very long time, and I had continued bugging him that, sir, le lo, take me. He's like, dude, I don't have money. What will I do with you? What will you do? He always used to ask me, what do you want to get into media? What do you want to do in media? And trust me, if you ask a lot of people this question, they have no answers. I wanted to be a hero. Everybody wants to be a hero, but nobody really believes that they can be a hero. And trust me, the world also sometimes doesn't believe that they want to be a hero. Right? So I basically said, sir, I'm good at acting. He said, do you want to be an actor? I said, not just an actor. I want to do other things also. He said, you have to choose one. Right?
Okay.
You can't do everything. Okay? So I said, sir, I mean, how much does it pay? Because survival was a problem at that point of time.
Correct.
Initially, when I used to reach out to him. This time around, when I reached out, I was being paid a decent amount of money. In today's times also, it was a decent amount.
Okay.
And I had some savings with me. Thanks to my parents also, I had paid off my educational loans. I basically reached out to Arunab this time, and this time he basically said, see, I am expanding. I'm planning to expand. And we are right now, at that point of time, there were just 6 people in TVF.
Okay.
Right? So they were a content collective. They were people who were storytellers, who were making good stories. Whatever they were making was making this thing. They already had cracked one brand deal. Arunab is a smart guy. He's the guy who basically cracked their brand deals as well. So Freecharge was probably had come on board for one of those, I don't remember what video. It was probably Dating Cutie app or something like that. The Freecharge had basically given them 3 lakh rupees, I remember.
Okay.
And he basically said, I am basically now looking at making it into a company. So this is the plan. I'm looking for somebody who can lead the business. Can you do that?
Okay.
I said, I have not done it, but I am definitely going to be interested. Right? So he said, I am not will not be able to pay you anything right now. Right? So I said, sir, kuch to doge. You will give me something. Right? He said, it's going to be peanuts. I said, that's fine. But let me give it a shot. Right? So I basically took a 90% pay cut. And I basically went to TVF. And for the first 3 months, I was sleeping in the office only. They had an office in Aram Nagar, F127, if I remember. They had a big, what do you call it? That place, the main studio, it was a studio with a back office. Right? So half of the people used to stay in studio. The media culture is completely different. And TVF culture is even more different than the other. So for the first 3 months, I slept in the office only. I made the back room my office, my home, because I was not getting paid. I didn't have any money at that point at this point. Right? So I basically, then I basically helped them set up the whole business team and the whole marketing and the whole process. I basically brought everything into process, hired the sales team, hired the brand solutions team, hired the marketing team, set them the process. So initially, even when the marketing used to happen, because TVF content was so good and they had a fan following, they always used to, organically they used to get a lot of traction. And to this
Correct.
date, I don't know now it is true or not, but 80% of the traffic still comes from organic, which is very,
Organic.
very different from the usual world. For me, when I actually got out of TVF, it became very difficult for me to understand कि यार लोग distribution के लिए पैसा देते हैं. People have to pay for distribution. I had no concept of that. Right. So TVF actually spoiled me in that regard. So I basically then set everything into process care. If there is a marketing that is happening, you're releasing a trailer, then you're releasing the main video, then you're releasing, asking for customer feedback, then you're doing whatever content which comes out. You should do these things in social media.
Right.
Now, if you're pitching to a client, who all can we pitch? How does the process? And there were multiple this things. So 4 years I spent in TVF. I saw the company grow from a 5-member team to around a 300-member team now. All the people who are now in the senior management, now I think there has been a lot of senior management change, but majority of the people who are still in the top management are people whom I hired on my own. And they are gracious enough to at least, whenever I need any kind of help, I basically reach out. For TBC, I have not yet reached out to Aruna because in the initial days I had reached out and he had told me to get the funding that if somebody is giving you money, take it. I said no. I'll go back to him sometime once I need that help. Not money kind, but basically helping with the creatives and the whole content bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's basically the whole TVF journey.
Right. So even though you were getting paid peanuts, you were really happy doing what you wanted to do. Right?
The best days of my life.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't go through that approach. All they want is a good pay, comfortable life. I mean, that depends on circumstances, but
no, I think it's the way people think, bro. I mean, I think everybody's priorities are different, right?
Correct.
You are not the same as me. My priorities are different than yours, right?
Correct.
So somebody will be very happy living in a chawl and somebody will be sad even living in Hotel Taj.
Correct.
So what makes you happy? And you need to scratch your itch. The biggest problem is we always make excuses. This is not possible. That is not possible. You have to do some kind of sacrifice and experience it. Correct. And only then can you know whether you really want to do it or not. Correct. A lot of people have an aspiration which they have not done yet. Right? So they assume that this thing is like this. Right? Till the time you don't do it, you wouldn't know whether you really like it or not.
Correct.
So one of the biggest things which I always tell people is if you want to do something, intern in that industry, or don't even do a course. Don't do a course. Intern. Work in that industry, because a lot of times you will realize that what you learn has nothing to do with what is being done in the ecosystem. Correct. And only then will you know whether you like to do that thing or not.
Correct.
Otherwise, those are just tags, bro. A CEO is a tag, a marketing head is a tag. These are tags. It doesn't matter.
So you only learn by doing, and it's really important to enjoy the process also, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So moving on. So this is about your IIT, IIM, and how you got into TVF. Okay. So tell us when you started up. You are a 2X founder, and when did you feel that, okay, I have to start up, I have to do something on my own?
I think I had been trying to start up right from my TVF days. Okay. So when I got into TVF, I think when TVF got their first round of funding, after that, I basically had a team under me. I had a lot of free time. At that point of time, I tried to start up with my girlfriend at that point of time.
Achha.
Right? And that went wrong for multiple reasons. Okay. Because I have my own learnings that why you should not start up with your girlfriend. But the company was doing well and we had to shut off because of personal reasons. Okay. So because of the personal reasons, the business didn't work out. But I had been trying to do that since then. And I had a knack for it. I liked coming up with newer ideas, and more important than that, I liked executing and doing small pilots and see whether things work or not. So I think in 2018, when I left TVF, I wanted to start something of my own, but I didn't know what. And this is a problem which a lot of people face. And I didn't have much clarity on what to do. So what I said was, hey, these are the few industries in which I'm interested in. Let me try and pick up a few consultancy projects.
Okay.
Right. So I picked up a consultancy project in the I think one was in EdTech and one was in health tech.
Health.
Right.
Okay.
In the health ecosystem. I had by the time I left TVF, I was sure that while I was getting a lot of offers from the media ecosystem, a lot of bigger companies wanted to take me in as a strategy head and all of that. I said, "Yaar, apna hi karna hai." And if I wanna go back in the media ecosystem, I'll probably go in as a face, not as a business guy, right? So I'd rather be a celebrity rather than serve the celebrities, right? So I was like, "ठीक है, अभी वो देखेंगे बाद में." So let me try out a few other industries. So while I was working, I picked up those consultancy projects for two reasons. One, because I will get the understanding, the hang of how the ecosystem operates, how that industry operates, and number two, also make a few network within the ecosystem. Right. So that happened. I basically did consultancy projects for around an year, and after that, I'd applied for something known as Antler. Antler was very, very new concept. I had no idea about Antler. It's just something popped up on my screen, and I applied. And this is Antler Global. Antler India was not there. Right? So this is back in 2019. Right? This is 2019. And I filled up the form, and they had a very simple form. I love the way Antler operates, very frankly. And I basically, they just ask for your LinkedIn URL. That's it. Okay, on the basis of that, they give you an application. That point of time. I don't know now. So they basically, and then they reach out on LinkedIn only. Okay, hey, we got your application. So fill up this form, or the first round. So I went through the process. I got in. I got into Antler.
That was a cohort.
That's the cohort, yeah. Singapore cohort, the third cohort of Singapore, SG3. I got into the Antler cohort. That was a very beautiful experience. That was a very, very, and I got exposed to the whole startup ecosystem there. And I think had Antler not been there, I probably would not have had the courage to start something, because I was slowly becoming, so again, consultancy projects are also somebody's paying you on a regular basis to do something. Right now, my biggest learning was that if you have to start up, you either have to start small parallelly and keep testing, and the money should start coming, and that will take time. That always takes time, and majority of the people don't have the patience for doing that. Okay, so if you're starting small, and if the only true validation that you get when you're starting up is when somebody pays you money. All these numbers, thousands of people, 10,000, that does not matter. If you don't have paying customers, it doesn't mean shit. Right? So I was basically stuck in that bit, and Antler actually came in at the right time, because that actually gave me. So again, whatever idea that we had pitched, we got selected in their IC, and we were amongst the top 10 or 14 teams which got funded in our batch, right? So I got $100,000 to basically was my first seed round, and that is basically, had that not happened, my whole starting up and running something full time wouldn't have happened. And life was, I had my own share of failures and successes in that. Because then COVID hit, we did a lot of things within COVID. So 2019 December, we started off. Then 2020 was when COVID picked up. We tried to do a lot of stuff within COVID. There were co-founder conflicts, there were team management issues, there were product issues. That is when my learning came that the biggest problem for a founder is legal and accounting. Because my 80% of the time used to get spent there. Then I realized that, once you pick up funding, then you have to find your second round of funding. You are on a treadmill after that. You cannot say कि हाँ ये round हो गया, now I don't need funding. That does not happen. That does
This
not
is a
happen.
new thing that I'm learning from you.
Yeah, it's a treadmill, bro. If you pick up funding once, you either
Yeah.
are getting acquired or you're getting into an IPO. There is no third option. Okay, मतलब, of course, you can shut the company down.
Yeah.
but these are
Was
the
this
only options that you have. Pardon me?
the idea that got funding, was it EVR Care or was it a
Yeah,
different
it was
startup?
Evercare. It was Evercare.
Evercare.
And
Okay.
that was a good concept. We actually evolved the concept, and we went through our own share of pivots and figured out the right business model. We were doing fairly well,
Right.
till the time we kind of decided to kind of take a break from it. It was a very simple idea and this is something which was my own personal problem, that everybody now is living in a different city from their parents, and we don't
Correct.
realize it, but our parents are getting old, right? And a lot of people settle down in a different city. The parents are living somewhere else, and the only thing that they do is send money back home, right? But there are other issues that your parents face, which they don't talk to you about it. But they do face, right? So, and these are not just medical issues. These are emotional issues. These are companionship issues. A lot of parents are single parents in nowadays times. If their better half, expires, then how are they living their life alone? And there's a huge taboo around elderly homes nowadays also in India. So our idea was very simple here. We basically help you take care of your parents when you're away. This is not a replacement of your love. This is an accessory for your love. It's like if you give your parents home, if you basically are sending a maid to your parents, that does not mean that you're replacing their home, yourself, right? So we basically had a very simple model, and we kind of evolved this as with time. Is that we basically would send you subscription model. Target was the NRIs. $99 a month, 4 times weekly, 1 visit. One person is going to your parents' home, sitting with them, chatting with them, helping them with anything and everything. Taking them to the temple, taking them to the bank, taking them, to the shop, or if something is broken in the house, Wi-Fi is not working, TV is not working, bills are to be paid, everything will help you with. We'll help you with all non-medical things, and we have healthcare partners who will help as and when if there is an emergency. Our team will basically help. Right, so we did all of that. Ran it for 1.5 to 2 years. And then we kind of decided to call it quits, and this is because of some issues which happened.
So how many customers did you have, and how did you go about acquiring them?
It's a very simple ones, right? So when we initially started off during the COVID time, we basically kind of pivoted the model multiple times. Initially we were doing something completely different, and then we pivoted into this model. And when we basically started doing this, we started with grocery deliveries and all, which was kind of trending in the initial COVID times, right? And then we realized that in India, a lot of people who are living in Indian cities will not pay. Then we kind of shifted towards NRI, toward the NRI audience, US, UK audience. Initial bit, we had a problem running performance marketing ads also, because this whole Trump thing had happened. And every ad which was being run in US for outside India was getting flagged. So our ad account got flagged multiple times. Right? So then what we did was we started tying up with different communities in the US. So there we had a reference based approach after that. So the first or the second client that we get in any city, we basically started getting those people to refer us more customers, more people if they really like our service. And the interesting bit, and one of the very innovative things that we did, and I think that is possible only in our model, is basically we had a very community-led model when it comes to servicing. So all the people who were going to your parents' house, they were people who were a part of our volunteer group who used to get paid by the hour.
Hmm.
Right.
Okay.
And we had a we had a 3-stage complete comprehensive psychographic evaluation of all of the people who
Hmm.
are coming in, complete background checks and all of these things. Um, and that basically what it did was, because these people were not on our payroll, that made our business
Hmm.
profitable.
Right.
Because here on
Correct.
this side, I'm getting paid on a monthly basis, and on that side, I'm paying them by the hour. Right. So for
Hmm.
every, $7,000 that I was earning, I was paying out around 2,000, 3,000 bucks. So I had a huge profit margin. Right. So
Hmm.
we at our peak we had around 200 to 250 odd customers who were from
Acha.
different parts of the US.
Hmm.
And in India, our operations was in 16 different cities.
Okay. Right. And I think Shantanu Naidu and Mr. Ratan Tata is working on a
Uh,
similar idea, right?
yeah. It's exactly
Yeah.
the same idea that we have.
Hmm.
But their approach is different, and I don't know
Hmm.
whether their approach will work.
Acha.
Yeah, because what we
Hmm.
realize is, for this business to be profitable, it has to be a community approach. You cannot hire people full time. You can, but probably
Hmm.
one person per city, not more than
Correct.
that. Otherwise, your unit economics will not work.
Hmm. And it
And
has
again,
to
it
that.
depends. It depends
Hmm.
on the number of number of customers that you have in a certain city. They are going by
Correct.
a full-time hiring kind of a methodology, which
Hmm.
is fine for quality. But in healthcare, you need to hire people full-time because that is a requirement. Because you
Correct.
have to train them, right?
Hmm.
Ours is more personality-based, and there are people who want to help senior citizens. You just have to find these
Correct.
people out. You definitely need a
Exactly.
manager to manage the schedules and basically for escalations and all. But if you make every person an in-house person, becomes a little bit
Hmm.
difficult. But again, I
Correct.
might be wrong. They have a different
Yeah.
scale in mind. I had a different scale in
Hmm.
mind. I was very happy serving 200 odd citizens, because 200
Yeah.
citizens was giving me $200,000 of ARR, right?
Hmm.
So I was making a lot of money. Okay. So I was happy with that, right?
Yeah.
And I was very sure that I would not want to need to raise another round of funding. But okay.
Hmm. And I also think that volunteering is something that should come from within. And finding those people should have been difficult for you, right?
Yeah. So basically, we had again a community-based model. The way we used to work it, and we used to operate completely out of WhatsApp groups. The way
Hmm.
we used to do it is, we initial bit we used to run ads. We used to find people, then we used to
Hmm.
interview them. Face-to-face interviews and then video interviews used to happen. Uh,
Hmm.
then background checks used to happen. Now these people, if they were happy, they would refer more people in. So in any city that we had, we never really needed more than 5-10 people, because one person could easily manage 5 to 10 persons. So until
Hmm.
unless I have more than 50 people in a city, I would
Correct.
not need those many people. And these 5-10 people themselves became a small network and community of their own,
Correct.
who used to have friends and all. So what I've realized, and that is where my learnings for running a community comes from as well. Right.
Hmm.
So again, every startup teaches you something which you use in your next one. So
Correct. Correct. Exactly.
so
Hmm. So the community model worked out quite well for you. And was it, did that community model push you to find the Builders Club, to start the Builders Club? Tell us more about why you started the Builders Club.
yeah, why? I mean, that had nothing to do with this. As
Okay.
in, of course, my learnings got used, but that was never
Hmm.
the intent. It was
Okay.
kind of a byproduct. So the reason why I started off the Builders Club was, because this was peak COVID, right? This is October, November
Hmm.
2020. When, I was kind of going through this 2021, 2020, this is October 2020. When I was basically looking for people with whom I could, looking for other founders and entrepreneurs with whom I could probably start a new project with. And I realized that there are a lot of these forums, right? There are a lot of Facebook groups, there are a lot of Slack groups and all. But these people, and I became a part of a few, they had these round robin meetups and everything that also used to happen, coffee chats. And I realized that there is no, the quality of the people and the kind of people that I was getting matched with was half of the time it was students, half of the time were people completely unrelated. And there were no activities which were happening in real time. So if let's say I have a project, how can I work on it with these people? How do I basically utilize the club to actually initiate the project and take it to the next step? There were no modalities out there. Everywhere it was just a forum. And even now, if you look, it's just a forum. It's a discussion forum where people are coming, they're putting queries. It's a discussion forum. So how do you, and that is when my idea was very simple. Yeah, here's a club where people come in to build their projects. Okay, let's say, Sarang, you are building Innovact right now. If you want to basically get more business, if you want to connect with more colleges, if you basically want team members, you want to hire interns, if you're basically getting stuck in a problem and you want guidance from them, ki, hey, this is where I'm getting stuck. How do I resolve it? There is no place which has this in a structured manner.
Correct.
Right? So, and then of course, everybody can provide you with content and resources because they are right now, I guess, one of the cheapest mediums out there. Everybody is creating content. Everybody is creating good quality content also. We have an overabundance of content. But I think what we lack now is services. So currently, if you look at any community, and that is the whole idea with which the Builders Club was started, is that any startup founder or any person who wants to start something of their own, we will provide you with all the resources that you require. You don't need to go anywhere. You can basically build it right here. And you can also launch it right here. You can get validation right here. And eventually, touch wood, you will also get funded right here.
Correct.
So that's the idea.
That was the idea. And you also have cohorts in your on the Builders Club, which again I think is a very good support system for entrepreneurs.
So cohort, in the sense that we have experienced. I mean, we have experience with boot camps. We have had a very interesting experience with boot camps. Actually, that has kind of given us an idea about the next phase of the Builders Club as well. So we're now in a journey. So currently, as we speak, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you will see a new version of the Builders Club getting launched. So we're completely revamping the processes, the structures, the strategies that we have used to build the club to now give a more, we are now having a better cohort structure within the club. So currently, I think we started off on Discord. Our major issue had been platform for a very long time because I think Discord did not serve our purpose. Slack also probably was not the right medium. While a lot of our audience base was in Slack, but we realized that as we scale up, we will not be able to afford Slack.
Correct.
Right. So then we basically went to a different solution. So now we have built a complete cohort-based structure depending on your phase of building.
Okay.
Maybe you're an idea stage. So in Builders Club, we have a very simple philosophy. Entrepreneurship is a process.
Correct.
Entrepreneurship is a process in which you start with an idea, you validate it, then you make iterations on the basis of the feedback. Once you basically figure out ki, ye product, this is the right product for this target audience, you start in your scaling up journey. Once you initially start scaling up, then you basically decide whether you want to take up funding to grow it or not.
Good.
Right? So depending on whether you're an idea stage or an MVP stage or somebody who's at a growth stage or fundraising stage or even an angel or an investor, we basically have created different cohorts now. And for every cohort, there are different specific services that you can avail for taking your startup to the next stage.
Right. And will it be like a subscription model or how is it going to work?
The community will always be free. There are certain things which will be paid. There will be certain things which will be free. So again, you pay for access. You pay for access. Otherwise, the club is free.
All right, got it. And okay, so coming down to a few last questions, what are the few experiences that first time founders have to be open to?
Failures, number one. People
Hmm.
give up on failures. You have to take failure as a given. You will fail.
Hmm.
That is the
Correct.
attitude with which you have to go in. If you succeed, you should be surprised that you made it in the first attempt. Right? So
Hmm.
the idea is, number one, you should be ready to fail. And number two, have a hypothesis based approach, have an experiment based approach. If you are, majority of the
Hmm.
people probably are engineers,
Yeah.
who usually start up, you should have an experiment based approach. If, let's say,
Hmm.
you are doing an experiment in a lab, right? You start off with a hypothesis and you make observations, right? You do
Hmm.
this and then you note down learnings. You do this, then you note down learnings, and after that there is a result. If this worked, this didn't work, and these are the insights that I drew from it. That is the
Hmm.
approach you have to keep as a first time founder. Not
Right.
everything is a do or die situation. Nothing is a go big or go home right now for you. You are just
Correct.
testing the waters. You are trying this
Hmm.
out for the first time. Nobody is here to tell you anything. How do you make sure that your success rate is good? The only
Hmm.
way you will be able to do it is if you do something and then you note down that, okay, this worked, this did not work. Okay, so if this worked,
Hmm.
then how do I use this and make something else? Have a experiment based approach. And
Hmm.
third, I would say, is have a deadline always. So
Okay.
majority of the first time founders procrastinate a lot. And that
Hmm.
is purely because you don't have a boss. You don't
Hmm.
have a unit test. You don't have an examination. Right? So you
Correct.
basically are in a situation where you have been brought up giving monthly exams, yearly exams, and a boss always to take review of, and you always end up last moment you study and you qualify that examination. But here there is no examination,
Correct.
right? Here there is nobody to review. So what happens is you make a plan. I will do this. Then you say that by this date I will do this. If that day passes, you basically increase your deadline yourself. And you say, yeah, take care. I didn't have time this week. I'll do it next week. Next week, I don't have time. I'll do it next week. Right?
Correct.
So if you
Yeah.
don't have a deadline, and if you don't have a deadline which is sacrosanct, you
Hmm.
will not be able to do anything. You are just
Anything.
wasting your time. And I think a lot of people here would listen to Pink Floyd. I think there's a line which says, one day, and then one day you find 10 years have gone
Hmm.
behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun.
Hmm.
So that is the story of majority of the founders. They procrastinate, and then if you ask them why have you not done it, then they will give you excuses that, hey, I did not have this, I did not have that. So acha, one more thing, bonus tip:
Hmm.
learn to build in frugality.
Hmm.
Learn to build with what you have.
Right. Not a lot of people appreciate what they have also. Amazing, amazing. Great. And I was actually watching a video of Kunal Shah. He says entrepreneurship is like hitting a wall every day, knowing that the wall is not going to break tomorrow, but it is going to break. So you have to keep hitting it every day. And as you said, the never give up attitude has to be there for an entrepreneur,
Now,
right?
my problem is you don't even have to look at it from that perspective. You give
Hmm.
up, never give up means that you are trying to do something. No, I am
Hmm.
saying don't look at it as an examination. I am
Okay.
saying look at it as a journey, not a destination.
Hmm.
I am
The
saying every
process.
day it's a process. You are learning every day something new. Something works, something doesn't work. Your
Hmm.
eventual end motive is somebody starts to pay you something for something you do. That is your end
Correct.
goal.
Correct.
For that journey, you are building something,
Correct.
right? So, in this building process, you basically take it as a journey, right? So,
Hmm.
on day one, only you, if you don't have the product, you basically go to your customer. You basically start with this thing. Okay, so if I want to do this, what all do I have to do? I
Hmm.
basically initially have to understand what problem What is the problem? A lot of people start with there are so many things, bro. But my intent is, what I'm trying to say is that it's a journey, right? So as I said, it's an experimentation, right? So
Correct.
every day you wake up with an experiment to do. Let's try this out and let's see if this works or not. You tweak this, you tweak that. Some things don't work, doesn't mind, but you'll have to keep it a deadline based thing. Chalo, let me try this for 7 days. If this doesn't work, I'm changing my idea. I'm changing my philosophy. A lot of people fall in love with their own idea. Never works.
True. So basically, plan, experiment, execute, enjoy the process, keep doing it every day.
Yeah. It's all about loving the process. Otherwise, you will not be able to sustain. There is no end journey, no. If you're an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, bro. Now you don't have a job to do. You're an entrepreneur for life. This is a process. This is a journey of life. So you'll be doing this for the whole life, rest of your life. If you don't enjoy the process, you will not be able to sustain.
Correct. And I also think that the mindset matters a lot, right? And I think people have to be self-aware of what kind of group they fit into. I think that kind of self-awareness has to be there for entrepreneurs, right?
What kind of group that means? I mean, can you elaborate on that?
As in, are they really fit to be an entrepreneur, or are they really fit to work in a big company? That kind of awareness.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are fascinated by entrepreneurship because of the glitz and glamour. They assume that they'll be getting a lot of money. And trust me, even I used to be one of those also. And till the time you haven't done it, you will not have your own learnings. Right. So I think the learning, whether you enjoy the process or not enjoy the process, as I said, if you do it once, you will get to know yourself. And trust me, one of my mentors had told me this, ki no doctor has given you a prescription saying that you have to start a startup. Right? So it is completely up to you. Right? Nobody is gonna judge you if you're not a startup. If you wanna make money, you can make money as an employee also, and a lot of money. Trust me, better than an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur starts earning very late in their journey, not in the beginning. Right? So if you really want to know whether you are an entrepreneur or not, do it for some time. Automatically you will know whether you're loving the process or not. There is no harm and there is no shame in leaving the journey and joining back in the ecosystem, even if a few people will probably laugh at you or make fun of you, saying see this he wanted to start up. How does it matter how many you are today in college, or you are probably doing your first job right now? Do you remember on what thing when you were in class 3 one of your friends would have laughed at you at? You don't care. How does it matter? It is your life. After 5 years, after a year, after 2 years, or even after 3 months, you'll forget. It is, if you are enjoying the journey, just sorted.
Great. Superb. Thank you so much, Sohail, for joining me on this podcast. Is there anything else you want to share with our viewers?
Nothing else. So I think if you are not a part of the Builders Club, be a part of the Builders Club. Go to www.thebuildersclub.me. We have also launched a new merch. You can buy the merch from our shop section. Also, there are a lot of new perks which are coming in for all our builders. Plus, our new version of the platform is launching in the next 2 weeks. So please check out our website. All the details will be there on the website. Rest, follow us on YouTube. We have got a new YouTube channel where a lot of gyan like this, along with a lot of startup related news and content and podcasts are also there. So if you're not a part of the YouTube ecosystem of the Builders Club, please be a part of that. And I think, Sarang, you can basically do the closing statements.
Great. Superb. So I think I'll just add one more point to this. I've been a part of the Builders Club from almost 4 or 5 months, and I've met really, really great people. And it was such an honor meeting you, Sohail. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing your journey and your learnings from your startup. So audience, until next time, this is your host, Sarang, signing off. Bye-bye. Bye, Sohail.
Take care, guys, and keep building.